Welcome to Prepare Like a Pro Live Chat Sunday show. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I'm really looking forward to this segment. This is our second try at this sort of segment, and I'm really looking forward to catching up with you guys. If you have any questions, Prepare Like a Pro friends, hit the chat box, and let's get into today's Sunday show. So we'll start with the debrief. I had a great chat with Gaetano Faranda. He's the high performance manager of Williamstown, as well as the Vic University course coordinator. The real takeaway for me, well, there was a couple of things. Firstly, the importance of developing relationships in the workplace, and particularly in sport. GT talked about how important it is on dealing with the person first when working with athletes. So whether it be from a performance point of view, as a strength and conditioning coach, or working with people and building strong relationships to help you get opportunities as a coach, and to help progress your career. He talked about how friends helped him get opportunities early in his career, and then coaches, presidents, all sorts of connections allowed his career to progress. So that was a real standout, and I know there's some developing strength and conditioning coaches that tuned into that chat. We also discussed the importance of gaining practical experience from a coach's point of view, and GT prefaced that it doesn't really matter where you get this experience, but as long as you're working on your communication, working on your ability to cue an athlete, whether it be from a technique point of view or to increase the intensity of the session. So making sure for strength and conditioning coaches or any coach out there, the importance of getting your hands dirty and getting experience. GT talked about his first opportunity through a friend to be the fitness coach for a Div 4 soccer team. So he said it didn't matter the level, but as long as you're just getting experience while doing your degree, he found that put him in, help dividends later on in his career. So really important, and that was a topic we spent a fair bit of time on. And then the third one that stood out was the importance of taking risks and learning through a little bit of trial and error, and making lots of mistakes early, particularly in the lower levels, so you don't find yourself making those mistakes later on in your career where the potentially the damage is a lot higher. So he said, try not to be too conservative early days, but also put yourself out there and do your research, and definitely do due diligence in terms of planning, but making sure that you're putting in and learning from your experience. So that was a really great chat. For those that are looking forward to the podcast, we're about 12 weeks ahead with our Prepare Like a Pro live chats compared to the podcast, where the episodes launch every Monday. So there'll be a little bit of time before that one launches. But for our Patreon members, you can watch the video on the Patreon app. Our next chat was with Anthony Koutoufides. Here was another really, really good chat. Kuda was super open and honest about his experiences as a footballer, all the way through from his career. But we also spent a fair bit of time on athletics and his passion for athletics, and how much of a natural talent he mentioned that he had early days from athletics. And it was also really interesting to hear about how football wasn't part of his culture. With his dad being Greek and mum being Italian, they weren't aware of the game, or they weren't keen on him playing. They were more keen on soccer. But he and his brother, from a fellow colleague at school, got them to start playing football, and that really opened them up to the game, and they had a talent for the game, and from there it was something that their parents supported. So that was really interesting to hear that someone, champion of the game, potentially could have never played if a fellow Aussie didn't rope him in. We talked about the importance of being in a high performance environment. So Kuda talked about some of the athletes that he competed with at state national level, and how training and competing at a high level helped really develop his speed and power. And he noticed when he was drafted at Carlton at the age of 17, how his body was very different to his peers. He had a lot more power and explosive, not just because of his genetics, but also from the training that he did. So that for the developing footballers out there, clearly athletics, which is quite a common one now, but athletics will help with your first three steps, your jumping, aerial game, and even just that ability to break away from a pack. And Kuda was big on that. So another point that topped up was how much perseverance and how he had to really persist with his career early days. He was in and out of the side in the first few years of his career, and he didn't have he had a challenging relationship with the coach. He mentioned Paco, and he found that he was out of position at times and not playing in his best position early days. And it was really interesting to hear how if he said he wasn't in contract, he probably would have quit the game. He was not enjoying it. So I thought that was really, really interesting. That another instance where if things went differently, maybe he never would have been a premiership player. But he actually sought a sports psychologist, he and his coach. And something that really stood out to me was Kuda's ability to really be open-minded and how coachable he was, and how willing he is to do whatever it takes to get better. So he mentioned that sports psych at the time wasn't a common thing, and particularly doing a daily journal. He mentioned how embarrassed he was as a young kid doing that in front of his parents. He'd actually hide from his parents to write into his journal, but he did find it very, very effective. And it's quite common practice now for high performance athletes to have a journal and work with a sports psych, of course. But back then, with the Australian culture and what was going on with sport, it wasn't. So definitely you could see that he's someone that is very focused and willing to do whatever he needed to do to get better. And sure enough, he did. He cracked inside the following year. He talked about the three focuses, one being like the vice grip, another is competitiveness, and another one around work rate. And he'd write those down in his journal before a game and focus on those three things throughout a game. And he found that really helped his performance. And he cracked into the side of the 1995 year, which is the year they won a premiership. So it all worked out from there on. He was the champion that we now know all about, well-decorated player. So that was really interesting. That was 4 years of his career there that he was in and out of the side and dealt with injuries. And then our academy member, Lucas O'Dea, came on and was a joint co-host. He asked a question around how do you deal with nerves before a game? And I thought Kuda's answer was unbelievable, really, to just speak right off the cuff and answer it the way he did. It's definitely worth watching. You can catch that episode on our YouTube channel. And basically the main message was try not to worry about the outcome of the performance, but focus more on three big areas that you can control. So Kuda talked about his big three things that he focused on were things that he can control. It didn't matter about the opposition, the weather, which way the ball bounced, but it was just the three things that he could do, which was around his intent and his competitiveness. So I thought that was a really good message, and not to focus on expectations or outcomes, but just focusing on the process. So Lucas got a lot out of that. We also talked about what's the most important attribute for a midfielder, which was a question that was sent in via those that were tuned in. And his answer was a really interesting one. He found it's fitness, because if you don't have that fitness base, that aerobic capacity, then it affects everything. So your skill, your ability to concentrate, have that tactical awareness, your strength, power, you name it. He found that if he wasn't fit, then everything else was compromised. So, for developing footballers out there, as well as, I guess, conditioning coaches, we're going to make sure that we're able to develop people's aerobic capacities to a point where it's not a limiting factor for their ability to perform on the field. So I thought that was really good. So that's the debrief. We had two live chats last week, one with GT, one with Kuda, both fantastic chats. Both chats you can catch on our YouTube channel for now. Make sure you subscribe to that channel so you can watch all our live chats and you won't miss an episode, because you'll be notified ahead of time when those chats are and what time and everything like that. For the episode that launches tomorrow on the podcast, as you guys are aware, every Monday we have a new podcast episode. This one is with Meg Hutchins. It's episode 55 on the Prepare Like a Pro podcast. And these are some of the things that you can take away from the chat. So we talked about Meg's involvement in the AFLW when it was formed. For most part of Meg's career, early days, football wasn't a possibility for teenage adult female players. So she talked about how much of a dream it was to be able to play and put on the Collingwood jumper. What did the female footballers do during the time when they couldn't play football? Was something that we discussed. So playing other sports and working on their athletic development. We also discussed how the AFLW Collingwood side was developed, because Meg played a pivotal role in that, and it was a really interesting story actually around how do you go about building a football club. So getting list management, getting the recruits of the talent in, but also dealing with a small budget and how much staff do you bring in and all that. So that was a really interesting part of the conversation, and quite a massive feat for Meg to be able to undertake that one. Practical skills for developing footballers, particularly around transferring your strength that we can build in the gym onto the field. So for things like ground balls and those contact type positions you can find yourself on the football field, Meg really broke down some drills and some key focus points for developing footballers out there. So this is a really good episode. Really encourage whether you're a coach, because Meg's a coach, whether you're a gym owner, she owns Bodyfit Ocean Grove, whether you're a footballer or just simply a fan of the podcast, make sure you tune into tomorrow's episode. The Prepare Like a Pro podcast, it can be found anywhere, your Spotify, your iTunes, and also your other directories. So please support the podcast by following us and leaving a review. That would be fantastic. For the full episode as well, the YouTube channel is live at the moment. So Sundays we launch the live YouTube channel. If you want the link for that, just go to our Instagram bio and click the Meg Hutchins link there. As for this week, we have a couple of big guests coming up. So pencil these in. We have Joel Hocking, who is the high performance manager at St. Monica's College. Prior to working at St. Monica's, Joel worked as a high performance manager at Carlton Football Club, Melbourne Football Club, along with roles as strength and conditioning coach at Essendon and Hawthorn in a 20-year career in the AFL. So that's a massive chat. Really looking forward to working with Joel now. He's working in a schooling system. So that's always interesting to see, and where a guy like Joel, who's got such great experience, goes with his career, and what he's now doing in the schooling system, developing young kids to be the best they can be. So really looking forward to that chat. Make sure to pencil in 8 p.m. Tuesday night. We'll be streaming that from our YouTube channel, so you can tune in and ask questions for Joel. And for our Academy members, feel free to come on and you can co-host with me and ask a couple of questions for Joel when we have that 10-minute section for live Q&A. So for those interested in the Academy, I'll play a little bit of a video in a little while around that. And if you want more information on how to enjoy the Academy, it's a small monthly fee. Just head to our Instagram, the link in our Instagram bio, where there's more information on how to sign up. And then our next chat, this is our international one. We're catching up with Gary McCoy, 9 a.m. Wednesday due to the time difference of America and Australia. Gary is a high-performance coach with a sports science background, and he has consulted with elite sporting teams and businesses all over the world. Currently, Gary hosts the Human Kinson Project podcast. So it's the first time we've had someone that owns a podcast or hosts the podcast by himself, a vice president of the Performance Kinetics Sciences, and the Australian National Baseball Strength and Conditioning Coach. So we haven't had someone in the baseball space. So really looking forward to chatting with Gary. Both Joel and Gary are leaders in the field, so make sure to join us on our YouTube channel for these chats. Joel will be Tuesday, 8 p.m., and Gary is 9 a.m. Wednesday morning this week. They're both Australian Eastern Standard Times. You definitely won't want to miss that. In terms of how to get your questions in, you can either join us live for those chats on YouTube and send your questions in via the chat box. Just like those that are watching now, you can send in your questions, or you can send your questions in by commenting to this video on our Instagram feed, or there'll be a 24-hour post. So the day before, there'll be a story where you'll be able to send your questions in via our Instagram story. It's now time for Q&A, guys. So if you are watching this live and you want to send in a question around some challenges that you're facing at the moment, whether you're in lockdown, whether you're about to play finals, whatever it might be, send the questions in via the chat box and I'll do my best to answer the questions. The first one has come in from one of our Academy members, Troy Jones. He wrote, I'm in a pretty strict lockdown. He's in Sydney at the moment and can't really train with anyone. any tips on continuing my skill development by myself. So there's a fair portion of us in lockdown at the moment, whether you're in Sydney, Melbourne, and other parts of the country. So it is a hot topic and a really challenging one. It's one that a lot of footballers have faced over the last 2 years or year and a half. Skill development isn't really my area. I'm more athlete development and strength and conditioning. But I want to help you guys out as much as I can. My recommendation would be first get in contact with your coach. So any coach that you know from local football, or if you're at a NAB league, or any connections you have with a coach, family member maybe, or a friend, reach out to them and have a chat with them about any drills that they recommend, because that's certainly their expertise. And then the second one, ball magnets, had a little bit to do with it. Tom Mitchell's app and the other guys there. They've created an app specifically for this purpose, so it has a lot of drills with Lockie Neal, Patrick Cripps, Tom Mitchell, and a lot of other elite midfielders, where they come up with some drills and break it down, and you can do those drills by yourself. And there's also some fun games as well. So definitely worth catching up with that one. I think there's a free trial as well, so you can try that out. And I'm pretty sure it's a pretty small monthly fee or weekly fee. It's not a lot of money at all. So that would be a big help as well, for a bit of direction and some videos so you can see how to do the drills. But yeah, that'd be my main two. Reach out to your networks, reach out to, more importantly, coaches, because this is their area of expertise, and they should have some things that should be able to help you. If you've already done that and you've exhausted that resource, then head over to Ball Magnets and download the app, and there's a bank of exercises there. For those that are tuned into this live chat, like every Prepare Like a Pro live chat Sunday show, I do a giveaway. So for this week, it's our 4-week online program valued at $119. And all you need to do is to follow these 3 simple steps. Number 1, follow the podcast on iTunes. Number 2, leave a review about your favorite podcast and what you liked about that review. So quite a descriptive one. Screenshot your review and post it on your Instagram. Make sure to tag Prepare Like a Pro, and that will go straight to our my direct messages, and then I'll give you the code to get onto our app, and you get a free 4-week program, which should be able to help you whether you're in lockdown or you want to get a competitive edge in finals campaign, or you might be in off season, whatever it is. I'll tailor that program to suit your needs, as well as what equipment you have access to and your age as well. So yeah, pretty simple one. Follow the Instagram, the podcast, leave a review and screenshot it, post it on your Instagram story, tag us, and you got yourself a $119 worth program. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We do this segment every Sunday at 6 p.m. If you have any questions or queries to work with one of our coaches, be sure to hit us up on Instagram or any of our socials. And for those interested in joining our academy, watch this quick video where we demonstrate all the benefits that you get for being a member on the Prepare Like a Pro Academy. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys with our Joel Hocking live chat Tuesday night.
Hi, I'm Jack McLean, an AFL football strength and conditioning coach, and I want to introduce you to the Prepare Like a Pro Academy. Our academy is a subscription-based platform where you can sign up to be a part of our community. If you get to the end of each episode of the podcast and are hungry for more, this is for you. Designed for aspiring AFL athletes and staff, you'll receive heaps of bonus weekly content, learn who the guests are in advance, and submit questions. Access to our Facebook group with Jack and other Prepare Like a Pro coaches. You'll be able to receive merchandise, program discounts and freebies, and get free access to our live events, exercise technique database, and much more. This is a great way for you to support the podcast, and it helps me with production and release of epic content for you guys each week. Your contribution goes a long way in making the Prepare Like a Pro community possible. For a small monthly fee, you'll have access to all of the special content released on our Academy forums. There's no lock-in and you can cancel absolutely anytime.